welcome to the Free Cheese episode 523. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
Hey.
And special guest, Tyler Block.
Hi there.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we're talking about rating, reviewing, and ranking Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I'd like to know, before we get into all this Sekiro conversation, FromSoftware has created games in its formula, set in dark fantasy, cosmic horror, feudal Japan. Which setting would you like to see FromSoftware tackle next?
Cyberpunk.
Oh, you wouldn't. Does Armored Core qualify or not really?
That's dystopian. That's too
Fair.
far gone.
And you're missing the punk part of it with the, right?
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I could see it.
Oh, I want it now. I just wish that
Yeah,
existed.
no.
Besides my Scooby-Doo from software game I've been clamoring for as well.
I want the cutest shit. I want some Hello Kitty in a bakery style.
Yes.
Everything is pastel colors.
Yes.
Fighting with breadsticks or something. I don't know. Just
You
go all out.
You should take a peek at some of the games that From has made, because they've made kind of what you're looking for.
Really?
Today.
Yeah. There was one of the last games that they made in between all of the Bloodborne and everything. They made a Monster Hunter game for 3DS that's like a
Cooking Mama?
kind of like an Animal Crossing. Yeah, I think some Cooking Mama maybe. But yeah, that's in there. It's called Monster Hunter Diary Poka Poka Iru Village DX. They made way back in the day on PS2. They did the Adventures of Cookie and Cream, which were
I have heard of that.
yeah,
But that doesn't play like a Souls.
Not a
game,
modern From
no,
software
yeah, they're
game.
not. Yeah, these are different. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want full Souls, but also in a
You know what?
different,
Yeah, make a
direction.
sequel to the Cookie and Cream, but
Cookie and Dream.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. Tyler, how about you? Which setting is prime? Which is rife for?
Let's go to space, baby.
Dang,
Let's do it.
everybody's going to space this year, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, now, would you want low gravity combat in that, or just interplanetary travel? Find different. Actually, I'm kind of liking this a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think getting I mean, Elden Ring definitely expanded things out a lot more. Even Yharnam with Bloodborne felt not small, right? I mean, there was enough stuff to go and explore, right? But you're in a sandbox. I think something a lot bigger could feel fun, right?
My answer was another run at horror, but something specific. I think we've seen From interpret now its own country's history. We've seen it take on not necessarily traditional European history, but I feel like a lot of the fantasy stuff is very much more rooted in sort of a European style setting. Let's go ancient, and by ancient I mean just historic America. Go full horror, but let's go Salem witch trials and get into that weird witchy era in America. That I feel like they could do some. Remember some of the weird, creepy stuff that we got out of Bloodborne, and see what they could do with that in that kind of setting. I'd also like a fighting game where you could just play as different characters or bosses from games, or I think, and this might even exist. I didn't look. A fan-made game that just has every boss fight from every Souls game, and then lets you pick a protagonist from any of the Souls games and jump in and just see. You know what I mean? Jump in as Wolf, but against the Iron Golem or something, or whatever.
Okay. Let's remix
make
it.
that.
I'm just thinking
Good
of
luck.
the protagonist in Clogs right now. I'm back in Salem with Trials.
See, yeah, you'd be down with it, right? Clogging along. That's what they'd call it, probably. Witchman, clogging along. This week, though, we are talking about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, developed by FromSoftware, published by Activision, first released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on March 22nd, 2019. The back of the box reads, "Take revenge, restore your honor, kill ingeniously. Carve your own clever path to vengeance as you come face to face with larger-than-life foes in FromSoftware's dark and twisted adventure set in feudal Japan. Unleash an arsenal of deadly prosthetic tools and ninja abilities while blending stealth, vertical traversal, and visceral combat. Survive a relentless and bloody confrontation on a quest to restore your honor and save the one you're sworn to protect." And that kind of kicks us right into the story of Sekiro. But before we jump into a little bit of the basic bits of the story, kind of give the background of the game, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into introducing why Tyler has joined us for this podcast. While we've been a trio for quite a while, Tyler was on some of the first episodes of this podcast way back in 2012. I think the first one you were on, we were talking about Injustice as that was being announced and showcased. And we also did a podcast for thefreecheese.com called All My Towels way back when. But for this game, we brought you on, Tyler, because coincidentally, you were randomly playing this game as I was playing it. I had we plan out this podcast a year in advance now, so I've known since December that I needed to play this game, and I've been playing it since December, according to my notes, and it's taken a while. But randomly, I was in the middle of hating it and myself, and you asked me what I'd been playing, and I said, I've been playing this for the podcast, and you were playing it as well. And then since then, we've commiserated, we've shared tips, we've been experiencing it for the first time together. Matt was the one that put this game on our list, but Matt has platinumed this game, has played this game. Was this your sixth time through for this run?
At least fourth. I think it was my fifth.
So it's a little bit of a different experience hearing from Matt how to do something or how to approach something versus someone doing it alongside, right? Like it's just different. There's the owl and the wolf, right? So we got to wolf together on this one. And yeah, so as much the tail end of my experience with this game, or like the back half, I should say, was really with you. So I couldn't imagine recording the episode without you. So thank you for joining us for this one.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, did you survive? You're doing okay? You look like you're still with us here on this earth. The game did not ruin you.
I'm stressed out. I'm not doing well.
I feel I'm not quite there yet. I think maybe in an hour or so I do feel a sense of relief that we're here. That we're finally recording. This has been the one podcast all year long that I've dreaded. Just in terms of like knowing how much was gonna go into it, but I'm glad we did it. So let's jump in. Before we kind of dive into the background of the game, the history of it, I want to ask each of you, what is Sekiro? In a sentence or two to you, what is Sekiro? Mark, what is Sekiro?
A tale of vengeance in many ways.
Matt?
Oh, he went a different direction. I was just gonna. It's FromSoftware's weird rhythm fighting game.
No, see, I like the unique answers. Yeah, Tyler, what do you got?
Suffering beyond belief. The maddest I've ever been at a video game since Yoshi's Island when I was 7 years old.
Yeah, I didn't want to take your answer, so there is a memory I have of biting
the cord on my Super Nintendo controller out of anger and nothing to do with it. I still have this controller, and you can still see the teeth marks on the cord from that day.
You still bite it?
Sometimes. Some people scream into a pillow, and other people bite Super Nintendo cord. I'm the latter.
I get it.
This is the maddest I have been in over 20 years.
And you've played Bloodborne, you've played
Dark Souls.
I know Elden Ring. All Dark Souls? Did you do 1, 2, 3?
Nope, just one.
Just one, okay. How about Demon Souls? Have you gone back to that one or checked out the PS5 version?
Nope.
Is that next on the list after Sekiro?
I think Armored Core is next.
Okay, fair enough. So the name Sekiro is a contraction of the phrase Sekiwan no Okami, which translates to one-armed wolf, which makes sense. So they shortened that down to Sekiro. The Shadows Die Twice subtitle was intended to be just for the teaser trailer. Just to show off, at that point, they decided it was its own thing, but the game did begin as a sequel to the Tenchu series, or like a soft reboot to Tenchu. From had purchased the rights to Tenchu some time ago, and then co-developed and produced several games in the series that kind of floundered and did not do well. So, when development of Bloodborne's DLC concluded in late 2015, development on Sekiro began. Initially as a sequel to Tenchu, but then sort of shifted to be its own thing. You can still see some of the Tenchu influence, where Wolf has a grappling hook, and there's an emphasis on stealth to an extent, but it is very much in the vein of the same types of games that FromSoftware has been making for the last 15 years. The story is quite what the back of the box describes. You take control of a shinobi. You are on a quest to restore your honor after being defeated, but also make sure that you're protecting Lord Kuro, who you are sworn to protect. And along the way, you encounter those who wish to cut down Kuro, but also several members of Wolf's past. You play as a protagonist named Wolf. And the main plot here, and this is one of the things about this game that I think is different than others, is that there is kind of a plot that you follow. It's not things that you read within the item descriptions, or you have to watch 22-hour lore videos on YouTube to understand, but there is a plot that's happening. Essentially, there's a fella who thinks that the only way to... Matt, this is where you might need to save me, because I am going to flounder a bit. A fellow who thinks that the only way to really make sure that the land is taken care of is to take control of dragon blood. And there's dragon blood in this boy, and
Kuro-chan.
He thinks we got to kill this boy in order to get the dragon blood and restore the land. This takes place in the Sengoku period of Japan, which was, in our history, a very war-torn and bloodied era in Japan. So for it to occur then kind of sets it right in that time frame. I'm painting in broad strokes here, Matt, but is that roughly the...
Yeah, no, you got it. Bad guy wants to use Kuro, who is the one you're tasked with protecting, both in the prologue and after the fact. Wants to use his bloodline to essentially become immortal, so that way he can better protect the lands. No, you got it.
And that, I think, is a testament to the game, right? Because the game does tell you those things as you play. Where if you ask me right now, even after I've watched all those lore videos, what happened in Bloodborne, I don't know, man. I talked to a doll lady and then I killed a squid boy. Like, I don't know much else about...
There's something about the School of Bergenworth and trying to do something with old blood.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly.
Blood? Why is
the old blood, dude. The old blood.
Why they have cages on their heads?
Well, besides the story in this game, Matt, what do you think are the main differences in Sekiro from other FromSoftware games? And I guess, to an extent, why did you choose this one over any other From game for us to play this year?
Yeah, so this was once we kind of established in season 10 what the list was, I wanted a From Software game. I kind of knew early on I wanted a From Software game. And two factors why I chose Sekiro. The first one was, this one is not like Dark Souls. It's different, and I'll answer your first part of your question in a second. And then the second one is, I don't know how From Software works. I don't know. I don't think they have an A and B team. I don't know. They have a brother sister team, or I don't know how they work internally. But I knew that new Armored Core game was in development. It was heavily rumored before it was revealed, and I figured we might see aspects from this game more so than Dark Souls. In the new Armored Core. So I want you all to get a taste of this one. But yeah, in terms of what I think makes it stand out, one, it goes away from the Souls, Blood Echoes, whatever currency system you use to level up, or if you die, you lose them, and you have to go and try and regain them back. It goes away from that, which gives you a different way of leveling up both your vitality, posture, and your attack power using bosses. And I think it actually makes it the most balanced From Software game in the modern library here. So I thought it might be its fairest challenge in regards of that. But then, yeah, it plays differently too. You don't spec out a character. You're a wolf. You're kind of made to play one way. Unlike the other From Software games where you can be a magic build, you can be a strength build, you can be a dex build. There's a little more RPG elements to those. In this one, you're a wolf, and you're given prosthetic tools and like skill points for skill set techniques or whatever. And you're tasked to go out and go blade on blade and take out some foes.
Yeah, I think that's another key thing that stands out is like, you can't farm to level up necessarily. You cannot change weapons. You do get the prosthetic tools, but they are tools. They're not your weapon, right? Like you have the sword. But yeah, you can jump. You can revive yourself after death, which is a change from other From Software games. We'll go into a bit more about that as we go, but I think for us, the best way to approach discussion on this game is going to be to kind of just walk through it as Wolf did. So like most games developed by From Software in the last 15 years, the game's progression moves the player through areas that are each punctuated by boss fights. And each boss fight is usually designed to test your skills and provide you with an opportunity to apply your understanding of the game's systems. Typically, in the areas preceding a fight, you'll often find enemies or situations that subtly prepare you for what is to come in a boss fight. Not always the rule, but generally you start to see smaller enemy types or mid-bosses that do or perform mechanics similar to what you're up against in a big boss fight. So, I guess right off, and please, if I start taking us too far ahead, because I'm going to kind of just jump from boss to boss and bit to bit, you want to take me somewhere else, please feel free to. But the first boss we encounter is Gyobu Oniwa, who you fight pretty early. I mean, it's funny, like, so I've got a little timeline of events in my note here where I've got things written down with dates. And like I said, I've been playing this since December, but I took some significant time off in between play sessions because I would just get mentally defeated. So I've got that I defeated General Tensei Yamauchi on December 15th, which I believe is like, he's the guy in that first main courtyard you get to after the ogre. So I got him. I think I'd started playing this like the beginning of December last year. The day after, on December 16th, I took out Gyobu, but it wasn't until May 7th that I took out my first drunkard, which was in the Hirata estate. And I remember specifically, like, I kept going back. I kept trying to push forward in the main story, and then I jumped to Harada to go after the something and got stuck at the drunkard. It was just a whole thing. But anyway, back to Gyobu. So Gyobu's a fight that happens. You kind of start to get the lay of the land a bit, right? You're getting a feel for how to move as Wolf, for when to grapple, when not to grapple. Jumping is a new thing. And then Gyobu comes along. You kind of enter. You're on the outskirts of Ashina Castle, which Ashina Castle becomes a pivotal, set piece within the entire world of Sekiro. And in the outskirts of the castle is this big battlefield where you fight Gyobu. Let's talk Gyobu. Any impressions, thoughts, strategies?
I think I just want to mention real quick, I think before we get into this, that I think a lot of people would have played a FromSoftware game of some kind, whether it is a Bloodborne or Dark Souls or whatever. And so with a game like this, it's very... It's known that FromSoftware has that formula. Like, everything's going to be hard as balls. You have a soul system, and you can kind of attack different bosses in different ways, and there's like a dodge first mentality and then get in your hits and run away kind of deal with those other games. What this game has to tackle is getting you out of that. And I actually think before this, there's the tutorial boss at the very beginning in the prologue, which easy peasy for the most part. But then you have the first mini boss in the Ashina outskirts that might give you some trouble, but they teach you about the first stealth death blow there. So you kind of get a leg up there. But then that second boss is Ogre. I actually kind of really disagree with the placement of that boss. It teaches you bad habits. And that's like the one thing in this game that I think roll my eyes at when it comes to a new player, is that boss does not like ramp up. It encourages Dark Souls play of the run away and hit and run away. It doesn't encourage this is a rhythm game. Learn to parry, learn to block, right. Learn to stand your ground, get in the opponent's face. You're actually going to do better when you're in your opponent's face. So with that being said, Gyobu is a little bit of a mixture of both. You can get away with running around this huge open battlefield and hitting and whatever. But if you have learned the system at that point or upon a replay or whatever, you can stand right next to Gyobu for the most part and stand your ground, and it's like far easier. So this Gyobu is like the first step of trying to a first real good step of trying to transition that player away from a potential modern FromSoftware bad habits.
Do you think that was intentional to kind of meet players there? Because this is also a game published by Activision, so they're going to have not a wider reach necessarily, but I think a more focused reach in terms of its marketing. This was also the first game post Bloodborne that released multi-platform. So post Bloodborne, I should say. Like Dark Souls was happening, but like here we have a game that is the first in a series, so it's going to invite new players. It's following Bloodborne, which Bloodborne got huge in terms of accolade and respect and adoration and whatever. So do you think it was intentional maybe to like, hey, maybe you've played Dark Souls or maybe you've played other things, come on in and here's a way to slowly break these habits?
I really like the design of Gyobu. I think it's a perfect first main boss. My problem
meant more Ogre, but yeah.
I think the problem is Ogre. Ogre is a weird boss fight. When you if you go through the whole game and you go through a new game plus, you get back to Ogre and you're like, this is one of those weird ones that doesn't quite mesh with a lot of the other boss or mini boss fights you'll see. There's some oddballs out there or whatever that you'll run into, but they kind of make sense a little bit more with the combat system than Ogre. I just think Ogre is a weird placement. I don't mind it when you actually encounter the second one. I think that's not a bad spot to have it towards the end of the game, but that first one is a little weird. So I just want to preface, Gyobu's a great introduction, first main boss. There's two tactics to take them out. You're gonna make it longer and more painful to do the runaway method, but it's doable as the game is trying to teach you some things.
with the
Yeah, I hadn't thought about him in that concept.
with the ogre,
No, right.
I feel like that's the first time they tell they specifically tell you that a boss has a weakness, right? Maybe I'm
Yeah.
maybe I'm misremembering.
That is,
I feel
you're
like-
right.
No, they tell you he's weak to fire,
Right.
and like at that point you might not even have the fire prosthetic, right? Depending
to
on if
look-
you.
You have to look for it, but you can get it at that point.
No, yeah, you could definitely get it, but like I don't think I had it. I knew that it was a thing, but I don't think I had. I think I had the piece, but I hadn't actually like gone and configured it or whatever. So like, I don't know. For me, he was. But I also don't remember having a tough time with him. I feel like I got through him pretty quickly. But in a stupid way, like not in a cheesy kind of way. Just
you have to fight
hacking
him
at him.
weird. Like
Yeah.
yeah. He's kind of like the Bloodborne Dark Souls stay on his ass kind of thing.
can
and
you
you're
get a
fine.
death blow on him if you come around from the top side? I know you can get
yeah.
one if you bait him away and let him turn around, but
speedrunners use a gotch and sugar, but there's a specific path you have to walk.
okay.
A gotch and
I
sugar
feel like
is for those that don't know, a gotch and sugar is one of the consumables that makes Wolf go invisible, just about.
Practically,
like if you get close enough to enemies, they still see you. But yeah, if you use a gotch and sugar and kind of walk up, and you have to, like I said, there's a direct path because you get too close, he becomes aware. But you can get around and do a death blow. Then you fight with 1 health bar fight.
Gyobu was definitely though a moment where I felt like, oh, I can do this. Like once I kind of overcame Gyobu, the first few times I went up against Gyobu, I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be a long time until September. Like, because again, listeners, we've got all this stuff planned out for so long that I was like, oh boy, okay. And then I did it, and I was like, okay, now what? And then like trying to find the next bit and just like slowly stepping my way through. And I'll be frank, at this point in the game, which is the first boss, I got completely lost. If you look at the list that I'm looking at here, like with the order in which you fight the bosses, it is Gyobu, then it has you go through Hirata Estate to Lady Butterfly, which we'll talk about her in a minute, to then go to Ashina Castle and fight Ashina, and then the Sunken Valley and fight the Guardian Ape. Now, Matt and Tyler, you both know from our recent discussions that Ashina and Ape were two things that I fought in the last month. Like, little bit, like, these were recent for me, where Gyobu was so long ago, and kind of looking at their game progression route and seeing, like, where you're supposed to go, I went who knows where. I got completely lost and sidetracked. And I feel like that was one thing that kind of didn't turn me off about the game, but definitely made it more difficult to get through. To the point where, like, I got to a point where in Senpu Temple, I had gotten all the way to the point where you're supposed to go fight the folding screen monkeys, but didn't actually ring the bell. I just left because I didn't realize where I was or that it was even there, or I might have been there way too early, and there might be a story thing that triggers you to ring the bell. I can't remember what actually lets you do it. I feel like I got there, though, and couldn't do anything.
I still don't know. You talk to that monk, he tells you got to go to the inner sanctum, and then he just sits there. He just sits there,
and that's it.
And he doesn't do anything. And then he repeats himself.
Yeah,
and then you go away, and you fight a monkey, and you fight a monk, and you come back, and he's gone. And then you ring a bell, and you get to an inner sanctum.
Yeah, that was a bit weird in hindsight. Because looking at the map and looking at where I went kind of everywhere but where I was meant to go. It's at certain points, like checking in with Matt especially, I would kind of get redirected, like, okay, well, go here, try this, maybe you're strong enough to do this, or you should probably go this way and do some of this stuff. But I felt like where Bloodborne was so good at taking you through places and bringing you back around just to have you realize, like, oh, I'm here again, right? Like that, and Dark Souls does it as well. Like there's those moments where you see how interconnected the map is, and this is that. I'm not saying it's not, but I never had that aha moment. I just sort of had these like, oh, okay moments. Am I alone in that? Was that
I can't tell you the number of things I've had to Google in this game.
Do you feel like this one's more than others?
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't think I've been this stumped by basic things like what's that little area behind Ashina Reservoir that you have to like faith jump out to and then grapple onto? It's key into the progression. Yeah, I think it is Sunken Valley. It is Sunken Valley. Super key to the progression
it's like
of the
where
game. Zero idea how to find it if I didn't look it up.
There's like, there's little cues that like Kuro gives you when you talk to him and stuff that are like subtle, but it's hard to, there's a couple eavesdrop things you can do, but it's,
You did, without looking it up, did you know where to find it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm just telling you there are things they try to do, but I don't think they're...
You can only jump in so many holes.
I was looking through every...
I jumped in a lot of holes. I jumped in holes that I think I would go, well, that looks like a bottomless pit. I guess I'll jump into there. Half my life. Jump into another one. Half my life. And then you just give up and you figure out, okay, well, maybe there's a space I haven't gotten to yet, and that's a hole. And it'll be a more obvious hole I have to jump into. And then you Google it, and you find out that you have to jump out, grapple, jump again, and then while you're in the middle of falling, look right, and then grapple.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's perfect logic.
Yeah. Easy.
So, the game also... There's the main land the land of Ashina that you're walking through, but there's also the Hirata Estate, which you unlock very early on. It is this game's version of sort of the like, not imaginary place, but like, you kind of time travel, not literally physically time travel, but you're just kind of like recalling a memory, so to speak, and going back through the Hirata Estate to fight, several bosses, but I think the main first one that you encounter and can encounter pretty early on is Lady Butterfly. Because that, I think, is kind of where it stops up until a certain story point. Am I right, Matt? That part I'm...
Yes, that memory stops at Lady Butterfly afterwards. There's a story, there's a cutscene, there's a story beat, and that's kind of why it stops.
She's the first fight you have where you realize that nothing matters, because you learn that the game teaches you, right? Like, you need to fight your enemies, and there's two ways to kill your enemy. You can deplete their health bar, or you can build their posture meter to stagger them and get a death blow. We haven't really gone into detail of those yet. So the posture meter is something that you, the player, have and your enemies have as well. And by perfectly deflecting or parrying attacks as Wolf, you have a greater increase on your opponent's posture meter. But yours also fills as well. And if it reaches to a full point, you can be kind of you'll stagger, and you can be taken advantage of as a player. But in the case of your enemy, if you fill their posture meter, they get this little red dot in the center of their body that indicates, press R1 and you will stab them through the chest.
Run them through.
Or head. Or neck. Or,
Oh, yeah.
Pull out a centipede.
Oh, yeah.
You get to Lady Butterfly, and she's tough, right? Not that Gyobo wasn't, but to Matt's point, right? Gyobo is a big open field. There's space to run away if you need to. Butterfly is in a burning room in the bottom staircase of the back of some house, and she's fast. She leaps into the air. She taunts you. She knows you. There's a personal connection, so I felt threatened by her just inherently. And you finally defeat her, and then she gets back up again. And there's a whole second fight you have to do with her, and you have to take her out twice. thoughts on that one? How was your first experience with Lady Butterfly? Tyler, how was your first experience with Lady Butterfly?
So, like you defeated Gyobu and came back months later, I gave up. It was so hard. I figured that was not a fight I was intended to fight right then at all. So I left. I went. I explored other things. I'm trying to remember how many bosses I went down before heading back to Harada Estate, because it was a while. Like, I had hit the Sunken Valley before I defeated Lady Butterfly. And it's another. Listen, I'll be honest. I'm with friends. I had to Google it. I'm not ashamed. And these little, like the little things, like she's walking on wires, and you should stun her when she's jumping off of wires. The second phase, the butterflies. I should have learned it. It's sad to me. We'll get to it a little bit later. How late into the game I think I actually learned how to play the game.
No, same.
Lady Butterfly should have taught me. Gyobu should have taught me. Any of these bosses should have taught me. And it was it wasn't without advice from strangers on the internet that I was able to kill Lady Butterfly.
I did not learn how to play the game appropriately until the corrupted monk. There's something else. We'll get to. There's another fantastic moment that I personally experienced with the game that I'll share in a little bit. That's a couple bosses away. I mean, again, Lady Butterfly. Right before you walk in, there's a little dude who's dying outside of her room, and he's like, they basically give you the tutorial prompt, like, use the snap seed to break her illusion. But it still doesn't work.
When's the illusion? Is the illusion how fast she moves, or that she's walking on air above you?
No. The illusions are the little people she makes.
Oh no, that's clear. But I wasted all the snap seeds before I realized that was the part that was the illusion.
I didn't struggle
exactly.
with that.
She's hovering in the fucking air. How am I supposed to know which one's the illusion?
No, he told me the tooltip, and then I was like, I got in there. I'm like, well, I got to use these snap
seeds. And then there's 3 of them in the game until 60 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I did not.
All right, can I fast forward
now the game
as far as snap seeds go?
Yeah.
No, never mind. I'll hold the snap. No. It'll make sense later when we get to the monk.
Okay.
Monk and snap seeds. I'll remember.
Well, now we're going to get to Junichiro Ashina, who is my friend. You work your way through Ashina Castle, from the outskirts to the castle, making your way up through the main corridor of it, and you reach the summit of the castle, and atop it, you get some more cutscene progression, and you're facing Ashina, who is a warrior. I mean, he's just there to do his thing, just like Wolf is, right? Like, he's living his cause. He's doing what he believes is right. Ashina is yet another Lady Butterfly, where you see very clearly Ashina has 2 death blow meters, aka I need to kill him twice, and then I'll be fine. And I started Ashina in June. I remember specifically it was the month of June. And according to my note here, I beat Ashina on August 11th. I do distinctly remember stopping playing for the final 3 weeks of August, but specifically on August 1st, I was like, all right, it's August. I got to get back on this. I got to jump back in and get to Ashina. For those keeping track, it was May the 7th that I made my way past the Drunkard, which was, en route to Lady Butterfly. 3 months later was when I finally fell Ashina. Because he transforms into a burnt boy who throws lightning at you, which is a whole different thing. So I had to figure out, this is where Tyler and I started conversing a bit with kind of what we were doing. And you're telling me like, oh, I'm out here chugging 7 gourds and I still can't retain enough health. And I'm like, whoa, how did you get 7? Because I think at that point I had 4. So then I realized I had completely missed on all of these, like, the upgrades for your health system in this and your healing system rather. So that led me to a bunch of backtracking and stuff. Ashina is, again, looking at the list of bosses, the way everything's written out in progressive order, Ashina is the 3rd boss you fight. Which,
proper.
Yeah. Yeah, proper full capital B with a boss. You get a trophy for beating this guy boss. But he feels like so much later in the game for me, just because I got to him.
You take
so
the
much
most
later.
time on him. He's the one that will beat you into submission. He's the one
yes.
where you learn how to play the game. And the sooner you submit to his will into this is how you're going to play the game, the quicker you will beat him. I also remember vividly losing to him what felt like 100 times. I pulled up, I was curious about my playthrough. Thankful for PlayStation trophies to mark some of these accolades for me. I had a day, well, first of all, I had a day on April 2nd. I beat Lady Butterfly and Gyobo within an hour. When at 1:31 p.m. Lady Butterfly went down, and then Gyobo went down at 2:15, so I had myself a day. But then my next trophy is Genichiro Ashina. I don't beat him until till April 12th. So it's a 10-day period before I make any significant progress in this game. Because he's beat me in the submission. This is not like, oh, I took a break like you did. This was me playing this game probably every day and giving it like 10 tries.
That was, yeah. I specifically with Ashina remember waking up on like Saturday mornings. I'd make coffee and then I'd come down here and it's Ashina time. And I don't even remember if I talked about this in the podcast way back when, but when I was playing Dark Souls for the first time, my approach was to use random number generation. I would pick a number in my head, a low and a high, and then I'd use random number generation on the fly to determine how many times I was willing to die before I turned off the game and went and did something else. So if I was like, you know what, I want to die at least 5 times before giving up, but at most 15, I'd roll the dice, see what it came out as, and I'd sit and I'd play until I saw the words, you died 15 times, and then I'd turn it off. With Ashina, I knew that I needed to die to learn how he worked, but so I would just set like a mental time limit, like, all right, I'm going to go for like 2 hours today and just see how far I get. And it would just be with my Saturday morning, then my Sunday morning, then my Monday evening, then my Tuesday evening. Like it just went and went. But it got to a point where I could beat Ashina's first 2 forms before getting to his lightning form without taking a hit. I knew every move he was going to make. I knew exactly what he was going to do, when he was going to do it. I knew it before he was going to do it. And that lightning form threw me off. So then I had to relearn all of that. And
I was going to say, that's the beautiful part of it, and why I think we labeled this month as education, because you know the entire move set, you know what to do. It's just a matter of execution. There's a small bit later, but I'm going to bring it up now. Like, your confidence in this game is growing with woofs in a weird way. There's a small detail that I didn't realize until my 25 hours of watching lore videos on this game, as I do every FromSoftware game. There's a small detail where when Wolf draws his sword in the very first cutscene against Genichiro, he struggles. He misses the sword for a second and then finds it. When you revisit this fight at the end of the game, he draws it successfully. Small little detail that he's become comfortable again as a shinobi, much like you are growing and becoming more comfortable going into that fight. And I think like you said, like, you know, it's only the 3rd form it's probably like one move that's different that you're not there. It's one mechanic that is literally just a text box that you may accidentally skip, because I did that and I had to Google what the hell that box said after I died to the lightning a couple times. But yeah, like you learn that first two stages of that fight so well, and then you finally get to the 3rd one, And yeah, like once you figure out the lightning thing, it's the same fight essentially, and you move on.
He was the moment, though. It wasn't even that he had the different forms. It was the fact that something was different, that in my head, I didn't think I could beat him. And that was the thing I learned with Ashina that I carried forward through the rest of the game, is that you have to know that you can win. Because every time I'd go into something like, this sucks, I'm not going to do it, because I kept feeling that, like, I'm not going to do it. Every time I stopped doing that, and I was like, okay, what is the enemy telling me? What am I seeing in front of me? What do I have to do? I could take him out. Not easily. I'm being very, whatever here with it, but like, it was still a struggle. But it's very much like when I got over saying like, I can't, and I just looked at like, okay, how do I do this? It all clicked together. And sometimes it's a bit of luck, but I felt like I had fewer moments where I felt like I fell into dumb luck like I did in Bloodborne or Dark Souls. Like Dark Souls, one of the bosses you fight, I forget which one it is, but the big dude that's like he's like the Demon Souls.
The Iron Golem?
Yeah. I was middle of fighting him and he just fell off the side of the thing. And I was like,
yeah,
sick, cool, sounds good, dude. And I know like speedrunners of this game, Sekiro, there's things to bait Gyobo off a cliff and...
Yeah, I was going to say they only fight Gyobo.
Yeah. Same thing with Demon of Hatred. You can do the same thing because you're on the same battlefield, right?
Whoa, there's a Demon of Hatred?
None of that happened. Huh?
Where's the Demon of Hatred?
He's in the end game. You can still... where you're at, you can still face him. Just turn around.
Whoa. Okay. All right. I don't feel like doing the Ishin fight more, so you'll have to tell me where to get
Oh,
to
you might want to do the Ishin fight. Well, walk into that arena. You'll tell me how you feel.
Yeah. All right. But Ashina was the moment where I did, and this is one of the things where like Matt kept saying it over and over again, and there's a little voice in the back of my head that's like, yeah, easy for you to say. Then it finally clicked, and it was like, yeah, okay. This was the moment. Like he was the moment you had to learn like how to parry, how to dodge, when to jump, when to Makiri counter. Like all the things you started to learn, you had to start to apply at Ashina. I think this is a point where the next on the list is the Guardian Ape, and I think this is a good point to talk about the Guardian Ape, but also talk about a little experience that I had that Matt got to witness. So, Guardian Ape is a fight. You kind of make your way through the Sunken Valley. A lot of really cool like Buddhist statues and this kind of like you feel like you're in what was meant to be like the peaceful part of this war-torn land. Only of course, everything in sight wants to kill you. And then you reach this sort of overlooking this little rock formation overlooking this big kind of valley or whatever. And you see a little fella hanging out down there, and you jump down, and it turns around, and it's just big old Donkey Kong with Kratos makeup on, and he just wants to murder you. So you got to fight the Guardian Ape. When I fought the Guardian Ape, I was going at dude for a while. Like, I mean, if I beat Ashina on August 11th, then I was basically at the Guardian Ape pretty soon thereafter, and did not beat him until just earlier this week. So what happened was, because I was having a really tough time with the Guardian Ape. So at some point, in conferring with Matt was like, maybe you should go a different way and see what else you can find. So I wandered about, and I made my way to Mibu Village. And I made it all the way to the Corrupted Monk. And I was having a tough time with the Corrupted Monk. I felt like I was doing chip damage. I'd do the fight at one point I timed it was 12 minutes, and I felt like I was pretty successful at dodging and whatever, and I'd only worn down the Corrupted Monk's health bar by like a quarter, maybe a half at best, and I died. And that seemed to be over and over again. So I get up, I decide, all right, let's do another run at this, let's see what I can get, maybe I can grind for something, maybe I can take on the Guardian Ape, whatever direction I'm going in, let me go. And Matt sees I'm online and sends me a message. And he's like, hey, why don't you do the PlayStation Plus Jim Ryan special screen share? let me see where you're at, and maybe I can tell you what you're doing wrong. We jump in, playing through, and like, there's definitely some gameplay things I'm doing wrong at this point. I'm definitely not parrying when I should parry. I'm running more than I should. I'm not as aggressive where I ought to be. Things like that. Or I'm too aggressive at other times. Definitely mistakes I'm making. But there's something that's bothering Matt in the corner of my screen the entire time I'm playing that he can't quite escape. So we kind of start looking through my items to see, is there something that's going on that I've got that I didn't equip or I didn't use or I didn't upgrade? Like, why are my hits so weak? Why is my damage so high? Like, what is the damage received, that is? And then we look, and there's this item in my inventory called the Bell Demon. Is anyone here familiar with the Bell Demon?
Yes.
So, the Bell Demon, remember earlier when I said I'd wandered in random directions and ended up in Senpu Temple and didn't really know what was there? There's a bell up there you can ring. And a little demon comes out. And it says that it strengthens enemies, but enemies will also drop greater rewards. And I guess I got that and never thought to get rid of it, or thought that I was just stuck with it because I'd rung that bell and that was that. Turns out you can just turn that off. But for most of the game, from, I don't know, January until just a week ago, I effectively had enabled hard mode that I didn't know about.
You goober.
So, in turning off hard mode, I think 1 or 2 tries, Guardian Ape was down. Went right to the Corrupted Monk. 3 tries, maybe? Something like that.
What?
Corrupted Monk was down. Yeah.
Yeah, he was moving.
Man, I suck at this
So that...
game.
It was a hot mess for a long time that I had no idea. So, in fairness, I guess, I probably should have looked that thing up after I picked it up way back. I think I did look it up and then just thought like, it's fine, I'll leave it. Maybe, or I don't know. The icon was always in the bottom left corner of my screen. I just thought it was like something that happened because I'm only ever looking at my health bar during a boss fight. So I just kept thinking it was something that would activate during a boss fight, and I just wasn't thinking about it. Like maybe I took a hit and it's there now. It's like a bleeding effect, or I didn't know what it was. But also I was getting some good upgrade materials along the way, I suppose, because it's helping to do that. But
to my credit, if he was judging me for not pointing along the way, I'm trying my best not to spoil this game. So he had been pretty good about answering me or asking me obscure, what should I do here kind of questions. I thought for sure the bell, if he came across it, was going to be one of those questions like, I'm at this bell, what do I do here? It says if I ring it, I was like expecting this text at any point during the summer. I never got it, and then upon watching some gameplay and then going through his inventory, there at the very bottom was what was it, like the demon spear? I forgot what the actual item was called. Yeah. I was like, you had hard mode on, dude. Then upon then, that chip damage actually was like somewhat significant, putting whites
it was working
on the
all of a sudden.
Man, you're a soldier, dude.
But
I never played on hard mode, so I give him credit.
In turn, it did teach me a lot of stuff about how to play the game. But that definitely didn't help with things. Anyway, the Guardian Ape, old Donkey Kong. He's brutal, but there's, a second form to him as well. And that kind of becomes the running theme, is like, you think you killed but you didn't. There's more. Just
they get you. He's the worst though, because at least Lady Butterfly doesn't like pop up Shinobi Executor or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the whole thing. There's a quiet moment. That's like the whole thing. And then that motherfucker, Headless, grabs that sword that you just used to decapitate, and it starts swinging away, and it's like, oh boy, I have no more health cords left, because I thought you were dead. I'm happy to report I did beat him 2 days after Ashina, so I didn't struggle too much there.
Jesus.
Okay. How about folding screen monkeys? Where did you land on those?
I love them.
That was before Ashina, that was after Ashina, but before the ape. So I had on the 12th I beat the Sheena, on the 13th I beat the Folding Screen Monkeys, and on the 14th I beat the ape.
Okay, yeah. The Folding Screen Monkeys are a fun fight because they are not quite a fight, right? It's
A
4
puzzle.
monkeys. It's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. See, hear, speak. What's the 4th one?
Do.
Smell.
Do? Oh, do, smell. I got, yeah. And they're represented in this game by, there's 4 monkeys in different colored robes that are running around this little area. And in order to defeat them, one of them can see very far. So you have to hide or sneak your way around. One can hear very well. So if you're not creeping enough, he'll hear you and run away. One is very loud himself. So if you alert him, he'll scream for other things to come attack you. And then as you fight each of them, they keep exponentially spawning more ghost monkeys to come attack you. And those, if you get hit by them, also inflict fear or terror. And you have a terror meter that fills up, much like any other poison meter or burn meter. And if it fills up to its fullest, you die immediately. But I think they're a pretty fun fight. And honestly, they are, I don't think there's another one like them.
Mm-mm. There's no other puzzle fights like that.
The only boss fight I didn't need to look up.
Yeah, no, but they're a lot of fun. I want to see more stuff like that in a From game. I think that would be a neat, like I think that all of the other things they do challenge you in different ways, and they push you to learn the game. But the Folding Screen Monkeys I thought they were nice, like just break.
Be careful what you wish for in asking for that fight with FromSoftware, because they have tried that, and they have been fucking incredibly terrible. I will point you to the Bed of Chaos in Dark Souls 1. And I know, Joe, you have not gotten there yet, but Tyler, I believe you have beat Dark Souls 1, and as a required boss, that is a piece of shit.
I don't remember.
Oh, that's the one where you have to go left and right and hit the trees, and then the floor falls below, and you have to jump on that branch in a game that doesn't have a jump mechanic.
Fine.
Oh.
It was fine. What was the first
You're
monkey
just mad
you
about
killed and the
Oshima
last monkey you killed?
Oh,
Last one was definitely the one I couldn't see, because I didn't expect it to be following me the entire time.
Yeah. Same.
I think the last one was the one that can hear you super well. Is he the blue one?
He was green.
I don't
think.
remember the colors.
Green. I forget I kept like sneaking up on him, and I thought I'd have the drop on him, but he kept like and running away. So he was tough.
I really liked the glasses on the sea monkey.
I didn't realize he had glasses.
Oh yeah, dude. There's this really goofy animation when they show them all up, and you go in there, and he like fixes his little spectacles, and then he screams, and then he runs.
Oh, that's foolish. I love that.
Oh,
yeah,
I guess
that.
I haven't watched a cutscene besides the first time I played it. Interesting.
So the reason you're fighting the Guardian Ape and then the Folding Screen Monkeys and then the Headless Ape soon thereafter are to gather, or I'm sorry, it's the Guardian Ape, the Folding Screen Monkeys, the Headless Ape, which kind of the second run of the Guardian Ape, and then the Corrupted Monk. Is you're then gathering the items that help you to turntable on the end of the game. I'm kind of rushing through here, so please, if you want to jump in and discuss any of those fights, do so. But at this point, you gather the items that you're kind of told you need to gather, and they're all just kind of literally gated. Once you defeat the Guardian Ape, you walk down the cave he was sitting in front of, and you find the flower he was guarding.
Did you read
Once
that,
you
by
defeat,
the way?
I don't remember what you get from the Folding Screen Monkeys. What was it there?
The Mortal Blade.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty important.
Yeah.
And then The corrupted monk she's guarding the
Stone.
Yes,
yeah, something
the
on that
fragrant
altar
stone.
or whatever. That's it. Yeah.
Did you read the Guardian Ape item, the flower?
Yes.
Do you remember what it
'Cause
says?
Not that I ever remember.
Oh, did you read it? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I thought you said did you need it.
It
forget
smells
what
like a
the
lady
description
ape.
is. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
He's like watching this hole forever, waiting for a lady ape to come out. I mean, I'm guessing that's
Well,
what
and
you're
then you
supposed
get to meet
infer.
her later on, right?
What?
Yes.
You meet her the second fight, right? When you fight him is not the first, because there's
Are you fucking with
the
me?
one fight with
You
no,
can
there's
fight
the
it-
one fight with him when you cut off his head, and then he comes back and you have to fight him a second time, right? All in
Yeah.
that same arena. Then later, it's in the Ashina Depths.
What?
It's not
you-
required. You can miss it.
I totally.
Is that
missed
what it is? I thought it was. Okay.
No. That's what, Joe, that was the thing I told you to go to Mibu or go in the direction in Mibu Village before taking out the apes. That way you weren't locked into that fight.
Got it. Okay.
I said you
see.
can always go back if you really want to, but yeah, don't make it optional. Yeah, but it's essentially a 2v1 boss fight, but you do after the Mortal Blade so you can permanently kill the centipede inside the body.
Wait,
So what happens with that one?
What's the lady monkey?
You're
look like?
fighting the
It's
like a
like
brown
a
version
brown.
of him,
Yeah, smaller.
a little bit smaller and brown, and then she shows up like partway through the fight. So if you can defeat him before she really shows up, she'll just get upset and go away. Like she doesn't try and fight you.
Or if you kill the headless ape first. But the way the fight's designed, the lady ape's a little bit more aggressive, I think, than headless ape. So it's like almost encouraged to take her out first because she's more in your face. But no, if you take out the headless one first, she goes away no matter what.
And he's
Wait.
still centipede style, doing his centipede moves, you know?
He has sword. And she's like first phase ape from the basin.
So you got to fight them both at the same time.
And
She
unless you're
shows up
incredibly good,
after. Yeah, if you can get him down quickly, if you've got the right divine confetti or whatever crap, yeah, you can.
yeah, have enough remembrances, or sorry, I did this enough memories.
Yeah.
Enough memories and divine confetti, you can get him down pretty fast. I think if you have to take a pacifying agent as well to get through his first scream.
That sounds right. Okay, so this is the part where no turning back. We're gonna hit a little bit of the spoiler territory in the game progression. And I want to talk a little bit more about. We've been kind of running through all these bits here. I do want to get a moment to talk about just overall thoughts around the game itself and difficulty and those types of things. But just looking at what's left in the game. So you're met with a choice. As a shinobi, you are, sworn to protect your.
Koro.
What's the?
Protege?
Who is
I
it?
don't know.
Koro-chan? I call him Koro-chan.
Well, yeah. That's Kurosama. Thank you very much. Show respect for the little dude.
Oh, that's right. But it's because he's
But-
little. It's fun to call him a cute name.
I know.
I call Gigi Koro-chan now.
That's smart. Yeah, as you should. I mean, yeah, he's the lord you're sworn to protect, but anyway, the rules are you need to obey your master, but also you need to obey your parents. Is the other
Iron
rule.
Code.
So you're kind of met with this catch-22 situation here.
Oh, yeah.
Your father, the great shinobi Owl. So Wolf was an orphan as a child, and then Owl kind of brought him in, taught him the way of the shinobi. You're kind of met now with this choice between obeying your father or not.
The
like
Iron
you-
Code.
Yes. Do you break the Iron Code? Which way are you going to go? If you choose to stand with your father and kill the Lord Kuro who you've sworn to protect, then the game wraps up in just a few short, well, not short, but you have a couple more boss fights, but not many more, and then the game runs a certain.
They're
way.
back to back. They're back to back.
But then that's kind of it.
What happens
The
if you
path
do that?
I've outlined.
Ooh,
Huh?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I said, what happens if you do that?
So if you choose the honor the Iron Code inside with Al, he ends up leaving and lets you deal with who's left to guard Kuro. And so you face Emma in a one-stage boss fight, and she is actually pretty tough. It's a unique boss fight. She has a little bit of speed of like an Orin almost, a little bit of like grace to her fighting style. But she has this devastating grab that I still don't know where the hitbox ends on it. Good luck trying to find that and dodge that. But after that, you immediately face a different than the endgame Ishin, but it's like a proper Ishin. And he has it's a two stage fight. The first stage is kind of, I think his moves, actually he's been a bit, I might be wrong, I think it's some of his moveset from what you would see in the final fight. But then in stage 2 he has these fire attacks that have some AoE effect style and is very hard. And you have to keep in mind you're facing this version of Ishin without all the additional memories that you may have going to what's the name of the location? Fountainhead Palace. Without going to Fountainhead Palace and finishing up some endgame content there. So
Now, if you choose to betray your father
As you should.
and protect Lord Kuro, then you immediately fight Owl. Thoughts on that fight? The first time you have to fight him?
Real quick, superficial.
hard.
Do they ever explain why Owl is 7'3"
No.
and has a 900-pound ponytail? He's the
No.
only. He's
It's
the
'cause they
only
wanted to
character
look-
in the entire game. Like the monkey doesn't throw me off. Owl is the only human being in the game that is 9 times your size. I mean, even like the giant sumo ogres kind of make sense.
I
The
read
The drunkards.
there was a Game Informer cover story on Sekiro that I read in the lead up to this, and there was an interview with Miyazaki where he got around the time of this, Netflix in Japan just got the streaming rights to Roseanne, and he got really into watching it, and he just really liked John Goodman's character.
You're fucking.
So
with
they
me.
wanted to make a
You're fucking. with me.
make a character that physically embodied John Goodman.
You're fucking with me.
It's just how it went.
Oh.
Mark's glasses have the John Goodman in
Yeah, I was thinking that too. The
Yeah.
Big Lebowski.
yeah. You got the look.
Yeah.
No,
You're out of your
Owl
element,
is
Tyler.
Owl is a very bizarre fella there.
He might as well have told me to shut the fuck up, and then I'm out of my element for as many.
No,
times
not
as
at
I
all.
told
I'm with you. Oh, you mean Owl?
Yeah. Owl might
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well have every time. That's what it should have said.
Al Goodman.
Instead of you're a
Yeah.
stray dog, it should have said you're out of your element, Donnie. You're out of your
Is there a
element.
death phrase or something you got completely tired of hearing throughout this game?
You're nothing but a puppy.
That's
It would've- I think it would have been the Genichiro Ashina fight. I don't remember what he says though.
the only thing I remember from him is him at the beginning of it saying like "moi," but other than that, it was Lady Butterfly saying "mada mada koinu" over and over again, and I was like, yeah, I got it. I'm still a puppy. I get it.
My most annoying one. Monk's laugh.
Oh.
yeah.
I hear that in
one,
my
yeah.
sleep.
Speaking of the monk, so we fought the corrupted monk and the Ashina Depths at the end of Mibu Village, which, by the way, Mibu Village is such a cool place.
So
like,
cool.
it's this weird, like, everybody's,
A
I don't know.
ghoul.
There's a yeah,
Everybody's
very
a little
ghoulish.
ghoul. They're small. Doesn't make sense. What happened?
Little
Was this
Halloween
old
town.
Ashina? Why?
Yeah, there's so much lore in this game that is like buried within these types of places. Well, that and Fountainhead Palace is another one that's beautiful. But you fight, you make your way after the owl fight through or to the Fountainhead Palace, where you'll fight the corrupted monk again in its true form. And this is, I think a lot of this game, a lot of the locales are very, very just, you want to stand back and just stare at all of them. But this one in particular, just the bridge that you fight the monk on, the cherry blossoms blooming all around you, like this whole area is just a
Giant
spectacle.
rope guy.
Oh, thank you. That's what I was going to bring up. Before we get to the beautiful thing, yeah, giant rope man is coming down and taking you out of that tent.
Come on, buddy, let's go.
I don't know the lore reason behind that one. Just little buddy just comes, that little big buddy comes down, just fucking, there you go.
He said, I've been waiting for somebody
Why
to
not?
smell my rock. I'm glad you smelled my rock. Come on, let's go. Let's party.
Yeah, yeah, that is a bizarre thing that I don't know the answer to.
It's probably some yokai related thing, or right? There's got to be a.
Wait, I mean, I obviously didn't get that far, but was that person wrapped up in anything?
Oh, it's not a person. It's like a rope man.
It's like
a big
1,000-foot rope guy, being made of rope.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Are you thinking of a yokai, Mark?
Not quite. In the Onimusha games, there was I don't know if he was a vendor or just like a person who would give tips, but he would just periodically appear with a string upside down, wrapped in like almost like a cocoon or something. But you could just see he's like a little old man face and had like a drunk red nose. He would just appear here and there, and then that's like he was always hanging by a string. So that's what made me think of.
It might
I don't
be.
think it was a yokai. I think it was just drunk.
Yeah, but I could see something. There's a lot of stuff within this game that does like tie into traditional Japanese lore. So if they're all based on the same
Ripping out
thing,
your
I can
butt.
see it.
Yeah.
Of course, that.
I had to look that up.
Um,
Did any of you catch that? That the headless rip out your butt?
That no,
No.
the I also learned about the thing at the bottom of the lake in Mibu. Once you learn the breathing technique and you can swim underwater and you can see all the Mibu who just drown themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a thing? That's a thing from Japanese lore?
It's like culture more. Like there was a murder that happened where someone was murdered and found with their legs sticking up out of the water. So there's
That's
been
cool.
like a reference in a lot of pop culture
That's
movies and
cool.
stuff. Just that image of legs
Yeah.
sticking up.
That's cool.
I did learn, speaking of movies, Kurosawa. So like with any films that are related to this genre or whatever, and you see like the blood exaggeratedly splatter out, just like a fountain or whatever, that's actually based on a mistake. So
Oh.
when he was filming Sanjiro, the pressure was too high when a character got stabbed. And so it just sprayed like that, but they didn't do any reshoots, so they kept that. So everything since then, he just ran with it at that point, and just include that in everything. So whenever you see that now, it's a nod to that moment.
I love that. And for
Dope.
this whole time, I've always thought that that's just how blood works. So I assume a lot of people also think
Yeah.
that too.
Veins are pressurized.
Pretty good.
I always figured that's what happened when you hit an artery. There's probably like
Yeah.
a couple hundred PSI in there, right?
Yeah.
Happy accident.
It's like a bike tire.
So then, Divine, or rather in the Fountainhead Palace, you reach the Divine Dragon, which, while not necessarily a folding screen monkey's departure in a fight, is still kind of a departure of a boss fight, no?
Hold on. How about the scene Fountainhead Palace jumping down there like, oh man, I can see straight across that water. Let me just jump in and go
swim?
on and swim on over and see what's on the other side.
Are you talking about when you're being struck with lightning or when the giant fish comes at you?
The striking with lightning.
Yeah.
The giant fish comes later after you make your way around, but yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. that first.
But it's a nice subtle reminder that lightning is coming.
So it was so I actually did take a break from this my first playthrough myself. It was when I got here, and then I don't know how much you're going to touch on this, but you can go back to the Harada estate with the second memory if you time some things right with eavesdropping and making sure Dragon Rot's not on certain characters at certain times. But you can go back into the Harada estate and get what's called like the true memory or whatever. I got through it all, and in the same chamber that Lady Butterfly is in, it is Al in a new and improved version. And I thought that fight was gonna take fucking forever. It was brutally tough. And that like discouraged, like that was that fight. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna beat it, and that was the thing that made me drop it until early 2020 when I finally came back and beat this game proper.
So you didn't finish it your first run through, or did you do a bad ending? How did you?
I stopped right there at Dragonhead. Or
okay,
I keep saying Dragonhead, Fountainhead Palace. Fountainhead Palace.
Okay.
I did not even get around either. I was at that point in the Harada Estate, and I was at that very linear part in Fountainhead, and that's when I stopped.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, but the fight, I mean, it's cool. You have to use your grapple to jump between different trees, I guess, for lack of a better term.
The Divine Dragon. I just want to we're back to the Divine Dragon for the listener.
Not the owl. And then the Divine Dragon's going to throw lightning, and you're going to jump in the air and throw it back just like you did Ashina.
Oh wait, that's another one where they fake you out. You got to kill all those little baby dragons first.
Yeah. That's one where the entire time I'm like, what's coming? I knew this wasn't it. There's
sure.
no way, not this far into the game. And then he fucking comes in. And it's a great cinematic, by the way, when he finally fucking emerges. It's like, oh, that's actually like right on par with the rest of Fountainhead Palace. This is a very pretty
They're like,
cutscene.
you thought John Goodman was huge. Check this out.
It's
no, that's an interesting fight.
It reminded me of Renala. Renala was a lot like that.
Yeah.
Is that an Elden Ring?
Yeah, that's the moon. You're talking I want to make sure I'm our character right. Renala was the one with the moon phase, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or actually, you know what? Because Renala you defeat, and then she just becomes kind of an ally. You know what might be more crap. I'm blanking on his name. Not Godric. Who's the
Riker?
Who's? Ooh, I don't want to talk about him. Who's the last fight you get before you get to the Elden entity at the end? Marika's boy.
Yeah,
Radagon. You fight him. Yeah. He's not that hard, and you think, oh well, this can't be the end of the game, but I guess it's the end of the game. And then you get to the Elden entity.
I actually thought Radagon was harder than the Elden Beast, but that's another game. But no,
that's
yeah,
right
like,
on with this. Yeah,
it is this grand thing, but like it's not like a fight, like you said. The mechanic is he takes various swings, and they're very patternized, and you kind of like have to just dodge at the right moment, and then you work your way to these trees, and you dodge his hits of one of these trees, and you get to the one with the lightning. You use that lightning jump, send it back at the person mechanic. And then you take him out after like 5 or 6 times doing that, and there's like, once his health is low enough, he sends you back one last time for this like last fury. That's probably like the hardest part of the whole battle. But if you know the pattern of that last like slash fury thing, you dodge your way through it, and then one last little big charge, and you go up and stab him and take his dragon tear for
overall though
story purposes.
It reminded me of Eco, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, you know, obviously much more difficult than a lot, but
a little more colorful.
Still, yeah, definitely brighter. Like, different color palette, but yeah.
Tears is also an interesting term for stabbing something in the eye and collecting what comes out. I don't know that I would call that a tear.
At this point, I think you just accept story purposes and just kind of move on.
Well,
like you do with any FromSoftware game at this point.
Tyler was stabbed in the face. He cried profusely.
Come on, Bloodborne, as much as I love it, come on, 3 umbilical cords to get the true ending. Like, what the fuck is that even an item?
No, that made total sense. I get that.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a bit lost on the story reason why we fight the Demon of Hatred.
So, I think it's this is where I wish I would have went back just to retouch my lore. But the Demon of Hatred is actually dude is giving the prosthetics. I forget the story purposes. I forget the story purposes as to why he is this, but I know, like, in his lore, like, his good friend or, like, his partner or his training partner, they used to train in the Sunken Valley, and I think his partner succumbed to the Guardian Ape, but is his sword, I think that's in the ape's neck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I there's something with that, and just the hate of, I think, the Ashina at this point being a goddamn train wreck from being invaded. Like, everything's in flames. I think he just goes AWOL and then loses it, like, kind of like Hawk style in a way. But yeah, at the very end of that fight, as you defeat him, he says, "Thank you, Wolf," because it's like he can't control it anymore.
Okay, got it. So you defeat him, and this is the boss that feels the most like some random Bloodborne or Dark Souls boss.
Bloodborne boss, yes.
Yeah. Reminds what was the electric blue one in Bloodborne?
Oh no.
Something beast.
That yeah. But that one, that was this. For sure. And then we're right back where we started.
Dark Beast Parl.
Dark Beast Parl. Yeah.
Exactly.
Parl. Yeah. Parl.
Yeah, of course.
This is my son.
Then we're right back where we started. We have to fight Ashina yet again, as a prelude to our final fight against Ishin, the Sword Saint.
So I want to ask, when you first walk in that arena and it's Genichiro again, did you take him out relative ease because you were so remembered every fucking thing about that fight you endured 1,000 times dying to?
The first and second? I had to...
Sorry, go ahead.
I did not actually reach this point playing-wise. So I've looked these things up, I understand, but I did not reach this point playing-wise. Demon Bell soaked up.
Tyler, did you feel like comfortable in that stage of this final fight?
The first time and second time? Dead in no time, right?
Well, there's that there's that FromSoftware overconfidence you're about to refer to. Yes, I've encountered that as well. But, like, it felt good walking in there and just fucking him up.
No, for sure. I went back and I defeated the other 7 Seers of Sheena, right? Got my last prayer bead, boosted them up a little bit, came in there, pieced them apart. Good. Golden.
And then one of the best cutscenes in gaming history happens.
Amazing. And I have consistently died to Genichiro my last probably 5 to 10 tries. With nothing other than the stress about the fight.
Yep. That's the worst part of this game, is that you can do it. You know you can, because you've literally done it 1,000 times. Yeah. But one thing shakes your confidence and breaks your confidence, and then you lose to the stupidest things.
George Foreman was 40-0 when he fought Muhammad Ali and got knocked out.
Right.
From shit talking. For just having his confidence knocked down. Comes back and he ends up defeating him. But all it takes is Sword Saint to come up, take 2 quick whacks at me, and I'm dead.
And this is when you pull out your Foreman grill, you make some good beef, drain that fat out, and you get right back to it.
I'm all fat, boy. I'm all fat.
You don't drink it. You're supposed to collect it and throw it out.
This is maybe one of many times in my early 30s that I'm starting to feel old. It's getting harder for me to learn. And it's getting harder for me to,
I beat this in my 20s then, right?
Dude, yeah, man. Like, this is the first time I've realized, games aren't made for people my age anymore. It doesn't feel that way. I feel very incompetent.
Oh, you'll have to come back next week for talking education and games. Or educational games. But I felt like I learned a lot playing this game. I learned to read, I learned to pay attention, I learned to look up what icons mean when they're next to your health bar for the majority of you playing a game and see if maybe you accidentally turned on a hard mode.
There's a very similar thing in Elden Ring, by the way. You have to.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for that when I get to Elden Ring.
Don't get too cozy with a certain NPC in the in like the hub area.
Copy. Noted.
Roger.
And then if you do get cozy, immediately use that item like you did in Sekiro, and then you'll back to good.
I do want to talk a bit about difficulty before we get ready and rank this thing. But difficulty was a thing. It came up around the release of this game in 2019 regarding accessibility and the ability for players to choose a game's difficulty. It came up with Dark Souls 3 as well, but I feel like it was a bigger point of conversation here. For a couple of reasons. One, this was, again, published by Activision, so it has Activision dollars behind it. It's very pushed on a new audience. But I also think a big reason for this game, and this is just my interpretation, the game, it's a concession from some FromSoftware tropes. So allowing the player to respawn after death, albeit limited, I think opened up the narrative that FromSoftware could change its punishing demands when it wanted to. So why not go all the way? I don't necessarily remember people saying that in particular. I just feel like looking at the way this game is designed and like built, right? Like respawning is part of the game thing. And it's the first time like you start to think backwards, like, man, if Bloodborne had a respawn effect, or if Dark Souls had a respawn. And you go the other way, like, what if Sekiro, I guess, let me ask this, do you think the game would have been better without a respawn?
I kind of thought it was an afterthought.
At the end of the day. It's there. I think it's there for story purposes. Like Kira blessed you with his like heritage. That's why it's like a cop out for the second thing. I don't have many complaints, but like the whole dragon rot system, that's a complete waste of time. The only thing it locks you out of is that Harada State thing. You're not done right. But like the merchants still sell to you if they have dragon rot. There's like no consequence to the dragon besides extra content potentially.
I fully agree.
So like I in a way I kind of agree with Tyler. It kind of, if you do pull back and think about it, like it actually is just an afterthought, because all it is just extending your health bar. There's really no difference in having that cell health bar die and then getting it like half of it. It's not even going to get the whole thing back. You get like a third to half, if that.
No, but there's like a mental thing for sure. And there's a resource management thing. I knew at certain boss fights when I was struggling that I knew when to heal and when not to heal. I knew when to wait for death to come so that I could respawn and then heal, right? Like, it was that kind of stuff, which I don't think necessarily made the game better or worse. It's just an element that happened to
I think it plays a story purpose more than anything, but like gameplay wise, there's I don't see any consequence to it or a lot of purpose behind it either.
Do you think, and this is for everybody, do you think this game should have difficulty options?
Absolutely not.
I think it should.
Tyler?
Does Elden Ring have it? Do any Souls games have difficulty options?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of either. I don't know that it should.
Any modern ones, no.
Yeah.
Not any modern ones, but I don't know about their old stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it should or it shouldn't. I think for me, I think I would say that I wasn't expecting one. Is that a fair answer?
Yeah. I wasn't expecting one either when I played most of the game with the stupid demon attached to me.
Right.
I was gonna say you found the hard one too.
Yeah, there's that option to.
I would.
There is another thing in New Game Plus you can do as well that makes the game even harder.
Oh, that's great. That's what I want.
Kira's charm. So Kira gives you a charm, but in New Game Plus you actually give it back. If you give it back, any you have to properly parry. If you don't properly parry, it's chip damage.
Mm.
If you just block. I think there's 2 other things along with it, but the main one is that chip damage and parrying properly.
That's brutal.
Real quick rewind to the dying twice thing. So I thought it was an afterthought. I thought after noticing that Activision released it, my guess was they made the game, it was as it was, and you die normally like you do in the other games. And so, somebody at Activision told Miyazaki, I'm not putting this thing out. And he said, no, I'm not going to make it easier. And they said, give him a second life. And he goes, all right, we'll give him a second life. I'm going to half the health bar, though.
That's how I always interpreted it. Like, yeah, knowing that this came from that. Because there's a lot of tutorials in this, too.
Right.
That, in all seriousness, looking at the Game Informer for Sekiro, one of the things that came out of their interview, Game Informer, prior to the game's release, was talking about and asking about the tutorials in the game and asking, like, was that an Activision thing? Did they ask you to put those in? And it was feedback that they did get, but it was more like a suggestion in one area, and then they liked it so much that they ended up figuring out ways to do it in their own way. And you can see that in this. Like, it's not like a straight up just like freeze frame, press square to do this. Like, it's like at times they will show you or teach you, like, here's what this thing is, but they still leave it open for you to learn and interpret it your own. But I can definitely see where, yes, Bobby Kotick got on the phone and said, John Goodman's not going to buy this game. Mark, you said
You're
yes.
out of your element.
Yeah. Mark, you said yes, add difficulty options. Why are you feeling that way? Do you feel like that with all From games? Do you feel like that with this one in particular?
I feel like all games benefit from having more options. I don't see the point of not having it. I feel like it doesn't do any harm. It doesn't. It's not a detriment to anyone's experience to have that as an option. You're not forced into it. Like, you just.
In this game in particular, what would make it easier?
Not so much the difficulty, but I don't know. I mean, it's all going to be preference too, right? Like, if you're a fan of these games, obviously you're gonna have a better tolerance threshold for it. But if you're new to it and you're having trouble with this style of gameplay, I would change up the mechanics. Like, why does your main character, I know it gets better over time, but like, why do you have to be more realistic when everyone else is like batshit crazy with their techniques on you? Why can't you be just as crazy with your styles and moves? I feel like it's kind of a limit to your. I don't know. It just feels oddly limiting. Like, this game pushed me to go back and play Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah.
Like 1, 2, and 3, and like,
which are still difficult games.
They're difficult, but like, you feel better as a character fighting in that game, and like, you do a lot of crazy ninja shit like from the start, and like. It feels like an even playing field more at that point, instead of just getting punished for every single thing you do in this game. There's like no room for error, and to me, that's just, I don't see the fun in that.
And there's another side to that you bring up too with the like ninja abilities and upgrades, but I found that there's a few things that are pretty integral to effective gameplay. Like the Makiri counter, I think you can, but it helps a lot to get that in this game. When you get that changes how you play and what your approach to enemies is. Quite literally, and that, for those who haven't seen it, like the little red kanji that appears above someone's head when they're about to do a forward thrust, in most cases. You then thrust back at them before they do their attack, and you'll stomp on their spear or their sword, and then you can get in some quick shots. You also gain the ability at some point to jump up onto an enemy, and that becomes beneficial in a lot of fights. Other than that, and a handful of like small things, did anyone find anything like useful or worthwhile chasing in those upgrade trees?
I really never used anything in my first playthrough. I used prosthetic tools, obviously. Like the shuriken was like my main go to in that first play. I definitely remember that. I remember trying to use firecrackers on a couple different enemies. But I don't know. But that that comes from the punishment of using consumables in Dark Souls, where I'm just scared to use things.
No,
so
and I have a lot of that too, and I inherited that where like I don't want to overuse anything, so I end up underutilizing things. Like,
so
I feel like I didn't upgrade anything. I feel like I barely used any of my tools. I upgraded some tools, but once I upgraded them, all of them started to consume more spirit emblems, and I didn't have the resources to do that, so I just stopped using things.
Yeah, I that would be like, yeah, my thing. I lost my train of thought here. What was I just saying? I'm so sorry.
Resource scarcity. What things you?
Oh yeah, sorry. My first playthrough I really didn't do any of that, but upon experimentations and seeing actually other people play, not just speed runs, but just other people play, like there's some techniques that are good. Like Ishimanga is actually pretty good early on. That Mortal Blade one is actually OP as fuck, and it's kind of broken if you know when to use it.
No,
and that was something that was vital.
That's the training wheels I needed.
So like, you know, that's something that helped me in this recent playthrough, like knowing I had that and just using it. I think some of the some of the sneaking areas, using not the puppeteer one, the one that makes the blood smoke.
Oh yeah.
I think that is one of the vital things I found myself leaning on, not just in this recent playthrough that I just did, but in, you know, early on, I remember using that a lot. And the puppeteer one helps from time to time too. But yeah, I like they're there. I don't think they're going to be the most useful things, but this game more so, besides the consumables, because you can get yourself caught, it does encourage a little bit more use of those techniques and your prosthetic tools than you would in Elden Ring. Well, I guess Elden Ring, you have the flask. That's a little bit different, but like definitely Dark Souls or Bloodborne.
We're going to get ready to rank Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, on the list, which you can follow along with at thefreecheese.com/thelist. Before we do that, please use this time to speak what has not been spoken. If there's anything we didn't cover, kind of running through the bosses, the areas, anything. Mark, anything you want to hit on?
I don't know. It's just these types of games just aren't for me. I can respect this type of game. Like I don't think they're bad. I just realized after playing it that it's just not for me. I don't know. Like I'm already not a fan of like shoulder button combat as it is. I miss face buttons. So it's already awkward, and just for every fight to feel like a boss fight is exhausting. So it's just, I mean, I'm glad everyone else can enjoy it. I'm glad that it's a thing that exists, but I definitely learned that much about myself after playing it. So,
Matt, is there anything we did not hit yet that you wanted to cover in our?
The combat system, I feel like it was the first to start doing this parry thing, where stagger meter is just as important as a vitality meter. So I love this the combat. This is actually my favorite From game after Elden Ring. As much as I like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2 is there, decent game. I have not beaten 3 yet, although 3 was trending to be as good as 1. Bloodborne is amazing, but this one it's different enough, and I like the I don't know. You can stand in there in Dark Souls and stuff. The builds are there, but like this one encourages it so much, and it's so satisfying when you realize like, oh, Lady Butterfly, I can R1 L1 R1 L1 and just take her down in 30 seconds. You can do it. Like it's not. I'm not just saying like it is very much possible. I did it in my playthrough. I beat this game in 10 hours this last time through. I didn't do the perfect ending. I didn't do the Harada Estate thing, but like I went through Ishin, I went through Lady Butterfly. Like I did the first Harada Estate member. Like once you get it, and it's satisfying. And I think it's their best combat system. That has sword attached to it. Well, I guess Armored Core is a sword in a way, but that is it's just a little bit it's a little bit different from Dark Souls, and I appreciate the fast gameplay, and it does other things too, like stealth and whatever. But no, the introduction of the stagger meter in this, I think, is like the biggest change in the combat. The best part about this game, I think.
And that did not return for Elden Ring, is that right?
No, Elden Ring stuck very much like Bloodborne and Dark Souls.
That's the thing. I'm like not looking forward to Elden Ring after this game, because once you do get used to the parry and you can get it and it works, there's nothing like it. And
you can get a small little parry shield and hit L2 and go for it.
Yeah, but the staggering, the whole like building that meter and this whole thing, like there's something special about this. Yeah. Tyler, what didn't we cover you wanted to hit on, or your final thoughts on the game?
Didn't you want to talk about the snap seeds or whatever?
Oh, we can get back to that. We can get I mean, it is the only starting from the top. It's the only FromSoftware game that doesn't feel like a skin of some background code. You know what I mean? And I mean that in a good way, because I've loved every FromSoftware game I've played, right? But Bloodborne isn't altogether different from Elden Ring, and Elden Ring isn't altogether different from Dark Souls, right? Like, you made different sprites, you gave me some different environments, but I wouldn't be... If you told me that the back end of those games was the exact same, I wouldn't be altogether surprised, right?
Yeah.
Sekiro feels like a very, very, very different game, and it shows me what talented computer scientists and developers are over at FromSoftware, right? So it's impressive in that regard, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it in that regard. There's a lot of bullshit. There is a tremendous amount of bullshit that they continue over and over again to give you. Like snap seeds, for instance. They don't tell you that you will get 6 snap seeds in this game before you defeat a certain boss. And that snap seeds are really, really, really helpful for certain bosses. Like the illusion of the corrupted monk. Without Google, I would have no way of knowing that was an illusion, that wasn't an apparition. It doesn't tell you that this is an illusion, not an apparition. You're in a graveyard. I had no reason to believe that pink semi-translucent things were ghosts.
I mean, she looked like a ghost.
She looked like a ghost.
I mean, it was straight up a ghost. It looked like every illusion that you've seen thus far.
But she's not a ghost. She's
if you had told me the firecrackers affected her, I would have been, how do you know that? But
Sure. But snap seeds are super, super effective against True Corrupted Monk, right? Why? Because she's an illusion. I'm sorry, not True Corrupted Monk. The illusion of the Corrupted Monk, right? Super effective on her. There's enough of those mechanics in this game that are rewarding once you look it up. But I don't know. I'm still getting through it, and there's enough of this game that continues to remind me that I'm either being impatient or trying to not play it on its terms, and I want to break it, I want to cheese it, I want to figure out a way around just learning how to play it. And I don't think that's it's for me, it's not a good thing, or it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's an experience with a game that I haven't maybe ever been exposed to, right? A game that's other than like a Guitar Hero, where there is one way to play it, and I'm not that great at it, right? So you can either learn to play it, or you can stop playing it. And it's kept me interested enough to want to continue to play it.
Would you mind if I read a text message you sent me, or a series of them from last week or somewhere?
You can come.
We were venting about, I believe, the corrupted monk.
Yes.
And I said that, oddly, I get more mad when people just spam the same garbage in Street Fighter when playing ranked. And you said that so far this is the highest peak of rage you've ever traveled.
Yes.
And I was curious that not even Elden Ring had taken you there.
No.
And you said, I got mad at Elden Ring. I did. But I could logic with the game, and by logic, I mean I could get my character strong enough or nimble enough to make up for any deficiencies I have. Sekiro, you must play their game. Have you ever played a game that a child has invented? There's rules, but they always change to benefit the child. You are designed not to win.
Yes.
I feel like that was
Yes.
the most apt description of Sekiro ever.
Yes.
Because you do.
I still
need,
feel
like,
this way.
unlike any of these other games, you have to learn how to play Sekiro for better or worse. Yeah. It was nice to see, though, that you could cheese two bosses into falling off a cliff. 'Cause I didn't know you could do that in this game.
Demon of
I was
Hatred,
happy
you have
to
to
see
be
that.
very specific because you can break that
Yeah.
tower you need.
Yes. But boy, was I did not
Kyobo
know
you
that
can
was
as
a
well, but the
possibility.
cheese to fish them out from that area is a lot easier.
Yeah.
You can cheese a lot, by the way. The ogre, you can make a jump to go around the side and climb up. Oh, this is the Tyler. You can steal this one if you want to try it. It's going to be very hard to use against Ishin, but the game doesn't. An enemy character will only block if you are facing them directly. So if you lock on, you're not actually going to face them directly. If you kind of look just to the side of them, your sword swings and has enough range and it's slash that it will hit the enemy, but the enemy doesn't detect that you're not facing them right on, so you will hit them and they won't block it. And if you can get them trapped in the corner and you look just slightly away with that lock on, you can continuously cheese them. Genichiro, that is how you beat Genichiro in a speedrun. You trap him between the door and that statue where the fall gate is,
Whoa.
and you just look away like at the statue and just slash away.
Whoa.
There's a lot of cheese to be had if you go looking for it.
Okay.
It is not a perfect game in that regard by any means.
Well, is it a game that stacks up against any other game on our list? TheFreeCheese.com/the list is where you can see everything we've reviewed and ranked over the last 2 seasons.
Wii Sports is number 1.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Don't laugh at that.
I'm
There's
is
plans.
where,
Hey, there's plans for that.
Yeah,
This
we've
is
got.
where I pull a mat and I'm taking a seat back.
I like
I'm
it.
gonna
No,
let
I like it.
y'all-
Mark refused to say anything on Quake.
So I'm a masochist. So last week I said that Shin-Chan. No, not last week. 2 weeks ago. My bad. Shin-Chan, not my game. Not my cup of tea. It's a little casual. Little, it's a fine game. No offense. Just not for me. But I appreciate its value. If you're looking at the list, listener, any of the harder games here, I rank a little bit higher. There's more in my alley. Sekiro is right up there. I love all these new modern FromSoftware games. This is my second favorite amongst them, so I'm very high on this.
I'm very high on this one as well. But looking at our list, I think this, for me, I'm gonna be the first one to throw a number out there. I think this is new number 6. Just below Eco, just above Portal 2.
My first instinct is 3 or 2. You can coin flip if you want to take it above Quake. In my eyes. But I recognize it's. I will say this: it has been a while since I had that first playthrough. I can't go back in time and relive. Trust me, if I could, I'd be replaying Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Elden Ring and all these things over and over again if I could. But it has been a while since that first playthrough. I'm sure I have a bunch of those of those frustrations. Again, like I said it myself, like I'm scared to use consumables in FromSoftware games because I don't know if it's going to bite me in the ass later. And then I never use them, and I have a whole inventory full of shit by the time I end the game.
One of the things I wrote in my review that I think is apt when we're trying to stack this on the list is, I'm just going to read right from what is on the website right now for people to read. Sekiro is at its worst when you are unwilling to play by its rules. Again, to ape exactly what Tyler said, you need to play by what it wants you to play by. And I write in here, I know how incredibly condescending that sounds to someone who is not attuned to the nuances of FromSoftware's games or anybody struggling to play this game. Because it sounds horrible. Matt, for the last however long, every time you told me this is just a rhythm game and I just got to play a rhythm game, I heard you saying it, but I could not do it, and it was infuriating to hear it. Now I get it, so it's less infuriating, but it's definitely a thing. Like when it clicks, this is right up the list. It is so good. It is one of the best games ever made, and I agree. I like this. I've not played every From game, but I did not think I would like anything more than Bloodborne. I think I like this more than Bloodborne. Aesthetically, gameplay, across the board, I think maybe. Now I want to go replay Bloodborne and just see how I really feel about that, but it's up there.
We'll
the things that hold it back for me are like, I went who knows where for so long. Granted, taking time off in between chunks of playing this game does not help you with not feeling lost, but like the fact that I was able to wander in so many random directions and not have a sense of direct or purpose or anything that sucks. I do feel like, the lack of emphasis on upgrades and what to do with those upgrades did not, the reason to move forward is because you need to move forward and you need to get things progressing along, right? But like, I never had a sense of like, like in Dark Souls and Bloodborne and whatever, and not that this is not that I want to compare it for sake of the list, but like in those games, you're doing certain things because you're banking blood echoes, you're banking souls so that you can upgrade and you can finally equip that sword you've been, like there's none of that here at all. There's a couple of skill trees you unlock, and when you look at the skills you're unlocking, they're kind of pointless when the main core of the game is to learn how to do this. And when you learn how to do that, you don't need anything else. And I feel like that whole progression just is negated. That's where it's not like perfect to me, but I don't know. I love it. I love running around it. I wish there were a mode where you could just disable all the enemy encounters and just run through the world and look at how pretty everything is, because I think it's some of the like best set design and art direction in any game ever. It's super good. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I put it at 6 because I like it. I think Eco is just such a perfect experience that I've got like hardly anything bad to say about Eco in terms of like, it's not just approachability, but I think that does come into factor when we're talking about a game like Sekiro. But like that, I think Eco is just a perfect, nice meatball of an experience where this was just a lot, and is a lot. Not in a bad way, but I don't know. I think it's hard. I think I said it a couple weeks ago, but I was struggling to find a reason why I didn't like Sekiro, right? And like why not to call it a perfect game. And I think I finally found some of those reasons, but I'm grasping at straws with it.
I think the ego thing, that's going to boil down for us to personal preference, because I think, like, I don't know, I felt like I rolled my eyes at some of the puzzles at Eco, and I felt like I was backtracking. But in this, like, you're just backtracking to the same enemy. It really is the same thing, just from an idol, instead of physically doing it with a controller. I don't know.
I like this better. I like this the most. Like, I like this better than Wii Sport. I'm there. I'm just trying to think of like how we have the list constructed at this point.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
we're not uprooting number one.
No, stay tuned.
Wii Sports has a perfect multiplayer and single player setup, and it's disguised in a small little free package.
Yeah. Okay, here's where I'm at. If we go higher than Eco, then I agree. I think I don't think it topples Quake. Quake has a stupid final boss fight that you can't figure out, but I don't think this topples Quake. I can put it over Street Fighter 6. But that's the thing. If we start to climb, it climbs pretty quickly for me. Where if it's at 6,
I mean, that's where I was at. I was at 3.
Tyler, I know that you've not. You're
I love
Street
Fighter 6 too.
But looking at how the list is constructed, do you have any opinions on this one?
This list is insane. I hate.
In terms of trying to parse,
it's just trying to see value or pattern. I don't understand this list at all, so I'm not going to try and weigh in or figure out where things should go. Wii Sports is.
Note that the scoring system changed too. So when you're seeing numbers that are like 5s, those are actually perfect scores versus all right.
Yeah, I have no Hotline Miami. I hated, so you can just. I don't know. I don't even know where I can put myself into this right now. Do I just? I'm just gonna do what I did. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I can just rank it on its own merits.
Sure, go for it.
How I feel about it versus other games.
Yeah,
it's kind of what we do on a week-to-week basis. If we're going to be completely honest,
yeah,
kind of throw a dart somewhere and then go from there.
It is. They're
infuriatingly perfect. I know. You don't have to tell me. My score will reflect that.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said that this game is as memorable and as notable to me because of how difficult it is, right? And maybe obscure, like, not obscurity. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, difficulty maybe shouldn't be the metric for something, right? Like, a good book shouldn't be difficult to understand, right? It should be accessible. And yet, I do feel impressed with myself by making it this far. And I think it's rewarding to you. It's rewarding to the player because it is so unforgiving and as toxic as an experience as it is, it's equal parts rewarding, right? I will remember playing this, right? And whatever I play after will be comparable to Sekiro, right? If I go and I pick up, well, I'm probably going to pick up Armored Core after this, so maybe that's not a great example, right? But if I went back and played, I don't know, Resident Evil 4 will be a walk in the park, right? Unless you play it on hardcore mode, in which case I don't know why anyone does that. It's impossible.
Actually, professional is just a scaled up dynamic system at all times. So it's actually, if you're good enough, you're actually gonna be playing on hard mode the entire time. Just throwing it out there.
So yeah, I mean, it's the richness of any From game, right? I mean, it's not just a difficult play, right? It's a rich world that's full of lore, it's full of interesting characters, it's full of really interesting environments that sucks you in and makes you want to learn more about the world, even if it's making you suffer as much as it's making you suffer. And I think that this game succeeds in the same way that Elden Ring and Bloodborne just captures your attention and makes you want to continue to play, even if you are even if it is 1:30 in the morning and you have work at 7 and you have died to True Corrupted Monk 70 times, 80 times, and you know you're being impatient, but you might want to give it one more go.
Because that's the one.
Because that's the one. It'll play out different this time.
That is how it went with Corrupted Monk.
Yeah.
Monk for me, by the way.
Yeah.
I literally said to Matt, like, he was watching and I was like, all right, 2 more and I'm out. I got to go. I did the one. I was like, ugh, all right, 1 more. Went in, was patient. I watched. I waited. Nailed it. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you get out what you put in. This reminded me a lot of skateboarding in real life. Like, just the fact that, like, you have to do the same thing over and over again. And it sucks, and you hurt yourself, and you fall, and you think it's never going to happen, and then you land a kickflip, and you're like, I can't believe I just did that. Right? But, like, going to the same line and doing the same, like, that kind of just, like, rote mechanic over and over again. But the reward for it is huge.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I like it at 3. Mark, do you hate it at 3? Conceptually. I know personally, yes.
I can compare this to Hotline Miami. I've died a million times in Hotline Miami, but I love how quick that respawn rate is, and it's not rubbing it in my face that I fucked up. From games, I don't know, man. It's just, it's the opposite with me when it comes to that. For some reason, it just feels 10 times worse, and it's just like, I don't gotta do this. So
it is a toxic relationship.
Yeah, and I already have enough of that in my life. I don't need that in my video games. So
what made it different in Hotline?
Hotline is its own thing. There's no noise surrounding it either, so I think a part of that is also affecting me.
What do you mean?
It's just like From is just like the most popular thing, so every game has to play like it. Where you're like a slow character who has to dodge.
But I feel like this is the exception to the From formula.
But next thing, there's 3 mechanics in video games that I despise: time, poison, and parries.
Well, can't help the parry
and
part.
like every game has to have a parry now in some way. Like even Breath of the Wild has like that thing where you go in slow motion. It's like everything has to have that. And it's like, I don't give a fuck about timing. Like I just want to go in and just beat your ass. Like I don't see anything wrong with that. I get boss fights test your skills. That's fine. But there's no break in this. It's like everything just felt insufferable. And I'm just not here for that. So Hotline, I don't get that. Or if I do get it, it's like done. I don't have to suffer. It's just ripping Band-Aid, pulling some hairs. So I can't put it above Hotline in that respect, but I can put it above Street Fighter, funny enough.
Well, the Street Fighter things where I think, like, to your point of the parry and doing that, like, learning and being patient with Street Fighter and, like, having to, like, study character moves and study highs, low, like, all the things that make you good at a fighting game. I feel like Sekiro does a lot of that.
Yeah, but
I like this over Street Fighter in that regard.
I do. I feel like Sekiro has a lot more to offer, funny enough. Like, Street Fighter I can just see as a fighting game. And
Sekiro doesn't have a battle pass, so it's already a plus.
Yeah, I think more has definitely went into Sekiro, for sure. Like, there's no denying that.
I don't want to get into that, but yeah, upon this playthrough, they had all that added stuff, too. That DLC came after I beat it in late 2020. DLC? The Remnants, that wasn't there. Those extra boss battles, none of that was there.
And like,
interesting little tidbit. It has nothing to do with my ranking. Just
yeah, it's this is why like I didn't want to have a say in it, because it's like I'm just gonna be more biased and naysaying than anything, and I'm trying not to be like that. I'm trying to be objective.
It's the position. I'm actually not mad that Hotline would be above Sekiro, to be completely honest with you. It's the Street Fighter above it. As much as I love I'm all in that game. I think I'm like 68 hours into it or something this year already, or something stupid. Like I'm all for it. It's the World Tour mode just doesn't stack to this. That's like the one detriment that I have.
God, I
hate
that World Tour mode so much. I've been trying to go back.
I
to
liked
it.
it. I liked
costumes.
it. Well, I'm not okay.
That's
just
terrible.
a battle pass.
It is awful. It is the worst thing I've.
Like, Sekiro is still a world that I do want to be in and visit. Like, I do love that whole layout. It just, I really gotta not be stubborn in order to accept everything.
I would encourage you to go through, like, I'm excited now to go back and finish what I didn't finish, but also just see other aspects of it that I missed at my own, because I started to feel the pressure as the podcast got closer to, of like, I got to get through this, and that does not help at all. I definitely encourage, like, going back and just, it's, because when it clicks, man, it clicks. It's a kickflip. It's fully a kickflip.
Could never do one. Could never land a perfect parry either.
See, and with a skateboard, I just want to cruise. I don't care about the kickflip. I just don't want to hit a rock and fall off.
It's a perfect analogy.
It works all the way around. I love it. All right, we're gonna lock it in at 3. Right? 3? Is that what I said? Yeah.
Does anyone else think of Sekiro when you read Sekiro, but you're like, Sekiro in your head, or is that just me?
I do now.
Okay.
I think that, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think this overrode any kind of Shakira reference I ever had in my life.
Well, there's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, our new number 3. Woo! Check out that and all of our other episodes over on thefreecheese.com/thelist or thefreecheese.com.
I'm refreshing.
You can read our full written reviews on Sekiro. And stay tuned for Elden Ring next year, I guess.
I am not put it on. I will be on record. I am not doing that. That is a 100-hour plus experience. No.
Damn.
No, not on this list. I will continue to beat his drum as being one of my favorite games, but not on this list.
I'm gonna get back to Armored Core now, but I would like to play Elden Ring.
Now, Armored Core 6 maybe next year.
I'll be right behind you, baby.
Tyler, thank you for joining us on this episode of
thanks,
the
y'all.
Cheese Podcast.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No, dude. Yeah. After us talking back and forth so much about the game, it only made perfect sense. Next week, we'll be back with episode 524, where we're talking about educational video games. So come back, stay tuned for that one. And then, of course, get ready for October, the month full of horror. Until then, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next time.